ruling their their areas. And so some had the direct rule through a monarchy. Others had the indirect rule through, traditional chiefs and all of that. But however, looking all the way back, even before the advent of the white man, you can dare say that we have gone through series of leadership styles, like I just said, direct, indirect, to colonial masters, to parliamentary style of governance, to democracy, and then back to military democracy or civilian. We went back and forth, different styles, and yet it looks like democracy has not come to stay, given since 1999, 24 years now, one government has transitioned into another. 7 election cycles thus far. But I'm still very much interested in 1993. That year, it was one of the most talked about here after the Civil War, or would I say after the independence in Nigeria's history. The elections held sometime around June 10. Was it June 10? I need to go to my notebook now. But the elections did hold in the month of June in 1993. And it was said to be one of the most credible elections ever. Now, there are records of administrative issues, little violence, not as active as we get to see these days when we hold elections. However, there were lessons to be learned. I've said that like 1,000 times. Anyways, if you're just joining us, welcome on the show. This is Hard Facts on 92.3 Nigeria Info. I am Kala Dakaru Batabo, and once again, happy Democracy Day. So, after the 1983 military coup, the first presidential elections were held in June 1993. You would also remember that, the preceding year, sometime around August and September 1992, presidential elections were held by 2 political parties. The candidates who participated in these primaries were barred from contesting the election because the then military head, Babangida, said there were electoral malfeasances. Now, the people who would have contested for, the election included prominent figures such as Lieutenant General Shehu Yaradua, retired, and Adamu Siroma. All right. So somehow, they had to do new nomination processes, and this time it was supervised by the then INEC. It was called NEC at the time, and an open ballot system was used. Now, the nomination process resulted in the emergence of Bashir Tofa, a businessman from the north, and MKO Abiola, a multi-millionaire media mogul from the south. Both of them were Muslims. One from the NRC, the other from the SDP. So it got time for the election. I want you to first of all see that from the primary stage, just like we have these days, the issues were there. There were challenges. There were challenges, just like we have now. And so I'm wondering if we learned anything. And see, this is why we need to strengthen. And I tell people all the time, we need to strengthen our political party structures, because I feel like sometimes they lack ideology, so to say. Anyways, it got to the time of the election, and it is said that a group a group, okay, now I remember, on the 10th of June, just 2 days before the election, an organization with ties to the military called the Association for Better Nigeria obtained a high court injunction and said that the election should not hold. Does that sound familiar? I think it does. It does. But the chairman of NEC, his name at the time was Humphrey Wosu. He dismissed the injunction, citing the High Court's lack of authority on election-related matters. Now, the NEC went ahead to stage election, which was deemed to be free and fair by observers. And I'm talking about foreign and local journalists. I'm talking about Commonwealth, international bodies, election monitoring groups, etc. But then again, while NEC was counting and announcing, the election results starting from the 14th of June, it was said that at the time, Abiola was leading and he had won 19 out of 30 states, including the Federal Capital Territory. Of the 6.6 million votes that had been announced, Abiola had received 4.3 million and Tofa 2.3 million. And so what? The military, according to the stories, different stories by the way, decided to annul. Of course, I think some other person went to court. Some other person also went to court, and this time, still the Association of Better Nigeria obtained another court injunction on the 15th of June to halt the counting verification. And this time, NEC accepted the injunction and announced via Radio Nigeria on 16 June that it was suspending its announcement of the results, indicating it was prohibited by court order. Now, the final vote was leaked on the 18th of June by democracy activists defying the law, revealing Abiola won by 58% majority. On 24th June, IBB announced the annulment of the election, citing the issue of vote buying as well as the need to protect the country's judiciary. Ahead of the elections, they were suggesting that military leadership were uneasy about a possible presidency of Abiola and would not accept the result if he had won. That's 1993. 30 years later, it seems like we still are not able to get our democracy right. I might be wrong. And that's why I want us to have this conversation. Because these days we still have interlocutory injunctions flying left, right, center. Did we really learn anything? However, somehow in 1999, remember Abacha took over while all the what do you call it now, troubles, were ongoing at the time due to the annulment of the election. In a bloodless coup, as it is called, Abacha became the head of state. And somehow he died, and in 1999 we found ourselves yet again in a civilian space, and it was said to be a democracy. And so I've got questions. 30 years after 1993, do you still feel that we have achieved a lot as a democratic nation? That's the first question. Second one, do you really think democracy has worked for us over the last 24 years? Do you think democracy has worked for Nigeria? Now, like I said, a lot of people have talked about Democracy Day, and a lot of people have talked about it from different angles. But I want us to look at it from history, from an historic perspective. June 12 is symbolic. It's a reflection of what happened in 1993. Do you think we've learned any lessons? And has that somehow trickled down into our democratic system of governance? But however, like I said earlier, we've had different styles of governance, from democracy to parliamentary style of governance to military. And he looked at the time all of these style of government or governance were used, that it did not fit the Nigerian the Nigerian society, and which bets my next question. Do you think democracy has worked for us, or do you think we should begin to tailor a particular kind of governance and not just copy from America, UK, China, but begin to birth the kind of governance structure that is peculiar and that can be tailored to the Nigerian society? Do you think that's possible, right? I mean, look at our federalism. I can dare say it's tailored to the Nigerian society, where everybody at the end of the month, the state governors would wait and then take their empty feeding bottles, get to the national, get their feeding bottles filled up, and then they come back to the state. And once they are back, the local government chairman will then go and visit the state governors with empty feeding bottles, and the governors will pour from their feeding bottles into the feeding bottles of the local government chairman. And I mean, that's our own kind of federalism, tailored to the Nigerian society. Can I dare say it's been working? So then the question is, do you think maybe we should tailor our own? I mean, we need to be innovative, right? We should become innovators and bring out our own style of governance. Or you think democracy has worked? 7 cycles of election, one government transitioning into another, no bloodletting, no killing, no wars. It's not been perfect, and trust me, there's no society that has it perfect. Remember Donald Trump's election that got him into office. There were conversations on rigging, and when he left, remember the Capitol building attack. So I mean, there's really not much difference. However, I'd like to hear from you. First question: how well do you think we have fared in the last? I want to take it as far back as 1993, so I can say in the last 30 years. Do you think there's been any growth, any development in the style of governance that we have? How has democracy fared in the last 24 years since 1999? Is it something that suits the Nigerian society, or should we tailor something unique to our peculiarities? And if that is your idea, what should it be? Happy Democracy Day to you once again. I'm going to open the phone lines in a jiffy, but I've got a commercial break coming up in about 2 minutes. So maybe I should just take one call, go for the commercial break, and when I come back, we continue the conversation. But remember, you could start dropping your messages on WhatsApp. 0809 0306416 is the number. Once again, 0809 0306416 is the number. And I do like the fact that I've told the story, because I know a lot of you young ones do not know the story of June 12th. But for the elderly ones, the older ones, you know the story, and I've just been able to jog your memory and taking you back to the time where there was a little bit of unrest and there was a little bit of uncertainty. But Nigeria belongs to you, it belongs to I, it belongs to everyone, and we need to talk for development. And I'm asking, have we learned any lesson in the last 30 years? Or is it just a reflection? Like Sonny Okosun will ask, which way Nigeria? I was looking for that song to play. Or is it, what's his name now? But then again, which way Nigeria? Which way Nigeria? And we'll find out after the commercial break. To stay tuned. I do love to hear from you, and really I love having conversations with you. I'm Kalada Kurubatabo. your info, and I'm looking at June 12, and I'm going as far back as 1993, and I'm asking, what have we learned as a people? For someone to know where he's going to, the saying says he has to understand where he's coming from. He has to know what the past does say, and that's why history is very important. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003. Of course, WhatsApp, I want to read your messages. I've learned, right? I'm doing better than I was doing last week. I'm reading all of the messages now. I'm clearing the DMs. But I'd like to hear from you on WhatsApp as well. 0809-030-6416. Remember, when you do call in, that we do have a call screener, and she's going to interact with you. She's going to get your name and where you're calling in from, so I don't have to ask that question anymore, and I'm just going to go straight into a conversation with you. So do well and be friendly to my colleague. All right, that being said, I'm going to start taking your calls. I've got Braid, and he's calling from mile 1. All right, Braid, good afternoon to you, or good evening, rather. Braid, welcome on the show.
Yeah, Canada, good evening.
Yeah, good evening to you.
Yeah, you know what have we learned from June 12?
1993, yeah.
Yeah. Canada, if you ask me, I think what I learned is that Nigeria really needs to look at its democracy and really expatiate on it, and also there should be reconstitutional review. Yes, Canada, after June 12, 1993, we have gotten the non-political party, non-party basis election.
All right.
After that, we have gotten UNCP, CDM, and other political parties, where all the political parties, I think that was the 7 political parties, were adopting the former head of state, Abacha. You remember?
I do.
Yeah, all of them were adopting Abacha, and every political party were singing praises to Abacha. No political party could be able to bring presidential candidates. We are adopting Abacha. Until the day Abacha give up the coast, suddenly Abacha became a bad person. I learned that our democracy is all about whom are you loyal to, and who is at the helm of affairs.
All right.
So our democracy suffered a very huge setback because of the incident of this man, the former head of state, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida. Humphrey Wosu conducted a very good election. If you look at the primaries of the various political parties, we are very transparent because it's an option A4 where you are looking at the person live who is voting for you and who is not voting for you. Where 10 people vote for me, I will video it and nobody could be able to read it. So if you look, during the general election, Asaritoru, where I come from, and then there are staff that they see that is also monitoring the election. And it will be very, very unfair that somebody somewhere annul that election.
All right.
You will agree with me, almost about 52%. I think it was having almost about 52% of the general vote. Yes, the election was annulled. And we go back to 1999, where we have the democracy now, who is SDP, APC, and other political party, then ANPP. So for me, democracy is nothing to write home about in Nigeria.
All right, then.
The political elite are suffering the people. They are only going to selectocracy and not democracy.
All right, then.
Nigeria does not practice democracy, but selectocracy. Thank you, and God bless you.
All right, thank you, Braid. Thank you for your time. You spent so much time trying to explain your point, but I've got Muriel, and Muriel is calling me from Okrika. Muriel, good evening.
Hello,
to you.
Kalada, good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Welcome on the show.
Thank you, Kalada. Kalada, democracy is good for...
Hello, you there? Or is the network really crappy?
I'm hearing you, Kalada.
All right, go ahead then.
I said democracy is good for us. It has been good for us so far.
Okay.
But there are some improvements. We need improvements.
Okay.
I've seen situations where anybody can come out from anywhere to contest for elections for offices, and they've won. So the amazement, some people can't even believe that today they can be governors, they can be local government chairman. This is as a result of democracy. And some persons have gone to court, sought redress, and they have come out on top. It has been democracy is good for us so far. My problem with it is our constitution, Kalada.
Okay.
The constitution, we need to drop it entirely and bring up a democratic constitution whereby all the regions will come together.
Wait, Muriel, I have so many questions. One, are you saying our constitution is not democratic?
Oh, Canada, this constitution was handed over to us by the military.
Simple question: Is it democratic? Is it democratic or not?
And adjust.
Is it democratic or not?
All the regions to come together in one voice to agree on terms. Look, there have been so many changes in this country.
Okay.
So we need to come together with the realities now and form a new constitution, just like Jonathan did. I just wish this new government can do this. We need a constitutional, a new constitution.
Okay. All right.
To govern this country.
All right, then.
With that, I think we'll begin to build stronger institutions that will make democracy sweet for the common man.
All right, thank you very much.
Democracy is good, All
right, thank you very much. I was gonna ask a question. I had questions to ask Muriel, and maybe if you are listening, you can answer the questions. First of all, if democracy is really good, why complain about the constitution? Because during the military era, you did not need to go through a constitution. It had to be a fiat or the military head of state giving you orders and you had to follow. Secondly, there is no country that has a perfect constitution. Even the almighty America in the eyes of Nigerians, once in a while would amend its constitution because the constitution is not perfect. But anyways, I've got Nathaniel, and Nathaniel is calling from Bonny Island. Nathaniel, good evening to you.
Hello?
Yeah, hi. Welcome on the show.
You can hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear. Welcome.
I think democracy is good, but democracy we practice here is the worst.
Is the worst?
It's the worst. And it's expensive. We will dry up the economy just to vote in the president, the governor, and other officers. I mean, the kind of money Nigerians spend in the general election and make the economy of this country for a year. Because the spend to lobby a huge amount of money to buy.
Nathaniel, your line is not really clear. We all are struggling to get to hear what you're saying.
Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you better now.
Spend a whole lot of money just to campaign because they do a whole lot of fraud. They do bribery. They also spend a whole lot of.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Nathan, I've got to let you go. I've got good news, and it's calling from Port Harcourt. Good news. Good evening to you. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good evening, my brother.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Quick one.
Yeah.
I want to say that democracy generally is a good thing. Democracy in Nigeria ought to have been good, but it is not good. In Nigeria, following what is happening, let me take you back to The last election in River State, not this one, the one for this one, the River State.
2019.
Awara versus UK.
Okay.
The electoral umpire used their own mouth to say that since local governments were cancelled and to review another election, they fixed a date. The same electoral umpire came and announced that same local government for PDP and Wike. I'm just being specific here. And take the job who should go to court.
Okay, so let's say, let me ask you this question because I always have follow-up questions. So if you say democracy is good but it's not working in Nigeria, what then do you think will work in Nigeria, given our peculiarities? What do you think will work in Nigeria?
No, definitely. I didn't say democracy is not working in Nigeria.
You said it ought. You say it ought to be good, but it is not good. So if it's not good, it means it's not working. Okay,
there are two words that I want us to consider.
Okay.
Suppose and ought to.
Okay.
It is working on the issue of suppose. Not issue working on the issue of ought to. If it's working on the issue of ought to, the ordinary persons will speak and their voices will be heard. But it is working supposed where they want it to be.
Okay.
Now, we can talk about June 12th, finally, without mentioning Paul Wilson, the electoral umpire that conducted that election. Unlike what we have in Mundakubu, that the result in the midnight.
Was it Paul or Humphrey? You confused me.
Sorry. Humphrey Wilson, Humphrey was the mistake. We must, when we're talking about Abiola's election, we must not fail to give credit to that man and his family, because the man risked his life in the military regime. Like the electoral umpires this time are under the democratic regime. That the democratic regime are worse than the military regime. Because they're ready to kill you, you're seeing your life, you're seeing your death if you don't do what they want you to do.
Thank you very much. Good news. Daniel from Imo Gate. Ooh, sorry, I missed that one. I was listening to Good News Rant, and he did make some points, I mean, changing it from NEC to INEC, has it really changed the activities of the electoral umpire? Our politicians, are they any different? Have they learned any lesson? We, the populace, is there anything that we've learned from the 1993 election? Like I said, 30 years. My younger sister is turning 30. She was born in the year 1993. She's a woman. She's a grown woman. So in these 30 years, have we learned anything? I've got Choma, and I believe he's calling from HA. Hello, Choma.
Good evening, brother Kala.
Yeah, good evening to you. Welcome on the show.
The question you asked, if democracy is still working in Nigeria, I can say no. We are mentioning democracy from when I was in primary school by the people and for the people. Am I right?
Yes, you're right.
Our leaders, it seems as if they are both obeying the rule of democracy. It seems they are very, very above. They don't even obey court rules. They don't even obey the voice of the people that vote them in. Yes, it is good for us to practice democracy. I'm not condemning it, but I must say, but we are not standing for it. And we are moving with a one-way subject. We'll be calling them, this is what is our demand. This is our pain. This is what we have as vision in putting them in. They will be doing the one that is on their mind. Court will be ruling. Court will be saying one or two things, saying this, stop it. They will ignore the court orders. So, for our own leadership here in Nigeria, if they can amend, if they can come home to obey the rule of law, to obey court orders, I think the practice of democracy would be good for us.
All right,
but my stand here.
Thank you very much, Choma. But then again, I think obedience to court orders, was what led to the annulment of 1993 election. That's on a lighter note. However, what are you thinking? I mean, you've heard the story. It's a very brief story I told on the show this evening, and I told you about the history of why June 12th is such a special and symbolic day in Nigeria. Apart from the government recognizing it as, the Democracy Day, it used to be May 29. Apart from the government, I beg your pardon, recognizing it as Democracy Day, it is a day to remember the wonder that happened during the election, June 12th. But for me, it's instructive. I mean, our courts should learn. All the injunctions here and there, they should deal with. I'm not a lawyer. I don't have much knowledge about it. But I do think, my personal opinion, that we should dwell on judging the matter on the merit of the case. Injunctions here and there. That's one reason we had what we had during the time. Anyways, it was a military government. I'm going to read some messages, interesting ones here. I'm going to go to WhatsApp. Let's see now. Many messages. Where do I start from? This one says, we have not learned anything. No. The same set of politicians, or wicked politicians, like you put it, that are not June 12 are still around to derail democracy. God no go allow them. Chika Onyegiri from Rumigbo. All right, Melody in report. 30 years after June 12, politicians have learned nothing. They are even worse. More reckless, indisciplined, violent, corrupt, selfish, nepotistic, electoral fraud, and most of all, they put the country in a reverse gear. Apart from some level of freedom of speech and GSM, the civilians have achieved little. The military achieved more than what the civilians have achieved in over 2 decades. All right, then. This one says, good evening, Comrade Clinton from Bury. Democracy makes everyone equal before the law, so on this premise, I can't in all clear conscience say that Nigeria is practicing absolute democracy. We're trying to mimic democracy. The day everyone becomes equal before the law, only then can we say we are practicing democracy. This is brought about by strengthening our institutions backed by a democratic constitution. So, Clinton, are you then saying that we do not have a democratic constitution? And which ways, thank you very much. And this one says the election at the time of Abiola and Tofa was adjudged as the most free and fair exercise even by the international community. What we have today is no democracy in practice, but in principle. We must tell ourselves the truth if we must get it right. Good evening, Ableman. Ableman, thank you very much. It's good to hear from you. It's been a while. This one says, for me, I think that Nigeria as a nation has learned its lesson from the June 12 event, especially ensuring that election results are no longer nullified after collation. Instead, losers are meant to seek redress in court. Nigerian democracy is nascent, and with time, we will get it right. The problem is not our constitution, but those entrusted by the law to implement democracy. It is good and should be sustained. It's time for me to take some more calls. I can see your calls coming in. 0817 923 0002. 0817 923 0003. This one says, our democracy needs a serious retort. We are just playing under the guise of practicing democracy. I witnessed 1993 June 12 election. It was the first time I voted. We have not had any election as clean as that one of June 12. You can go to court in that election because your loss is clear. You can go to court because your loss is clearly seen by you and your victory is equally seen too. We ought to have grown past the stage we are now. It's really shameful. June 12 was annulled because Abiola fell out with IBB. Thanks, Bernard. All right, that's your own take, but I'm going to take some calls now. 92.3.
Yes, Canada. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. It is Kalada, my name. What's your name? Where are you calling in from?
Emma from Ebonyi State.
All right, Emma, welcome.
Thank you. Let me take you to political philosophy.
All right, I'm listening.
And her mind. Political philosophy says that any set of government that does not work for the benefit of the majority of the people that live in a particular environment or nation should not be seen as a fair government system. That's number two. The definition of democracy is the government of the people, by the people and for the people, which means that the people are to come together and say their opinion.
All right.
and then the opinions will be obeyed. Just like a caller that called and said the ruling class, they disobey the constitutional laws of this very country and nothing happens. I am concluding. Today is called Democratic Day or Democracy Day. Are you aware that there are people that don't even have money to buy water? So they subscribe to drinking of well water and river water. Today, that is Democracy Day, there is no light, even in where I am now. So how do you justify it? How do you interpret it?
All right then.
Canada, interpret it.
I'm trying
to. Thank you.
I'm trying to. That's why I want to learn from you. I'm trying to. 92.3 Nigerian. So what's your name? Where are
Hello,
you?
Canada.
Yes, welcome.
Yeah, my name is Alexander.
Wellington, welcome.
Canada, you said your sister was born 1993. Canada, since 1993, has your sister seen constant light in this country?
I would have to ask her that one.
Canada, do you know that are men who are up to 50 years, there is no light in their community here in River State?
All right.
Now, the problem is not that there is no democracy in Nigeria, because the people have not elected their person who they want to lead them. That's why democracy is stable. In fact, I could recall, let me take you to Abia State. In the election of the governorship of Abia State governor, jubilation is still going on in Abia State. There is joy. That is why the governor must deliver. That is democracy in action in Abia. You must deliver.
So what if he doesn't deliver?
Democracy is the government of the people. Okay. The people owns the government. And the government by the people. And the government wants to work for the people. So until that begins to play, there is no democracy in Nigeria. That's why the government policy keeps failing. That's not the truth. It has a spiritual backup also. It's not the truth. There is no miracle about this. Thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Wellington. Thank you, Wellington, calling from Okrika there. Let's read some messages now. WhatsApp now. This one says, Nigeria has disappointed democracy. 1, there are no justices, no freedom of speech, no strong institutions, no check and balance. A country where the constitution is only for the poor, it is well. Promise Wachiku is texting from Omagua. Then he went ahead to say election then was based on head count. The lesson there is, why are they not using the head count system when it comes to election in Nigeria? All right, let's read this one. At some point, some persons will be wondering, what is democracy? With my own knowledge, I will say we are experiencing 15% of democracy in Nigeria. Abiola was assassinated. People are still being assassinated during election. No reasonable change so far. People cannot express themselves freely without being intimidated. Rigging of election is even worse than before. Much needs to be done. This one says, we have made some progress since the inception of a democracy in 1999, but a lot still needs to be done in order to practice true democracy. From Dagogo Hearts. All right, thank you very much, Dagogo there. This one says, on Democracy Day, do some hurdles, still much to celebrate. We are not there democratically, as it were, but we are moving forward as a nation. Despite the national complaints, there have been development. It's not yet Uhuru, but with sacrifices, resilience, improvement, and good judiciary, we shall get to its peak, as we all desire. Congratulations, Nigerians. Ami for Ernest from Port Harcourt. And this one says, good afternoon, Canada. Nigeria does not practice democracy at all. Stop whining ourselves. But we thank God for life and shall continue to pray for our dear nation. Joshua Ubong from Transamadi. Joshua, I got your earlier message. Thank you very much. I'll study what you sent. This one says, Nigerians have suffered and learnt a lot, but the political class, it seems, have learnt little. They still take the people for granted. They don't seem to know that governance is about the people. They have built a tower of corruption and pocketed the judiciary. INEC had a chance to learn, but it failed woefully. As long as leadership is cash and carry, Nigeria cannot get it right. Nigeria is practicing elitocracy. Am I agree with you? I mean, you've got a good argument, elitocracy. The Nigerian constitution is unconstitutional. It is the brainchild of the military era, Sir Joe. But it does not mean, was American constitution a result of democratic government? I doubt. Democracy is good, but it's never the best form of government because it is simply a majority rule. In democracy, any person, including a mental deranged person, can president the country or governor a state while the people suffer because majority decision can be wrong sometimes. Democracy does not emphasize much about competency. Secondly, the Abiola election was the best election Nigeria has held, though it was not also perfect because I was not up to voting age, yet I voted. Hector, you are the problem of Nigeria, but thank you nonetheless for telling the truth. It says, as some former British Prime Minister is currently facing the gun, so to say. Afternoon, KD. Why is nobody talking about punishing Babangida for the acts of injustice in 1993? That man should pay for the problem he caused with the single act. If you check well, that's where our problem with democracy started, Dave. But Dave, I think Babangida can argue that there was a court injunction, 2 injunctions from the court actually. So, I mean, the guy can argue that it was not entirely his fault. This one says, hello, Canada. If there could be any Nigeria, if there could be any way Nigeria could go back to the recolonized era, let's do it. Be it, it has, I don't get this part. Let's do it. Be it has that made Nigerians act. Okay, you're saying they were not ripe as it when we demanded for independence. North Korean president asked that Nigeria and Ghana be recolonized. All right, Kelvin, I'm just getting to hear that one, but thank you nonetheless. So this is good evening, Mr. Kalada. I think that political leadership we had since 1999 till date is what I believe on, which has failed us in the democratic system of government as a great country. Nothing good have come to stay. Those at the top position should have a rethink and follow due process of democratic nation. Bakata from Ozwa community. This is what we pause. Remember, the open season will come and we'll talk about these and the other conversations. For now, I've got to go for a commercial break, and after that, the news update at 5. Just stay tuned.